listen to the finest work song, your finest hour, your finest hour. Hello and welcome to Colombo and Company on State of the Union, but it's not really State of the Union Tuesday. The not State of the Union joint address to Congress by President Trump this evening will be carried live right here on News Talk STL. You don't need to go anywhere. As you know, we were throughout the election and everything. You can always count on us anytime there is major breaking news, whether it is in the evening or on the weekend. We've always got you covered. So we will be carrying the speech live tonight. It starts at 8 o'clock our time. And it's going to be something that we talk about through the show today, not just previewing the speech, but also possibly previewing the idea of maybe some shenanigans, some what is being classified in the media as Democratic demonstrations during the speech. So we'll definitely give our thoughts and the latest reports and all of that as we go through the afternoon today. We are also going to be joined in the 3 o'clock hour today by Aaron Dorr from Shall Not Be Infringed, which you can hear on Sunday nights here on News Talk STL, gun expert. Looking very much forward to that conversation. Also, speaking of great weekend shows here at News Talk STL, Todd Showalter is going to join us right at 3 o'clock. We will, I'm sure he's got some thoughts about what we could possibly see tonight in the president's speech. And of course, for this entire 2 o'clock hour, as he does every Tuesday afternoon for the entire 2 o'clock hour, we are joined on the line by the great Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. And Crane, as we all eagerly anticipate this big speech from Donald Trump, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
And the hug is solid. It is unwavering. And whatever happens, we will always know that we will support each other in that hug. Important.
It is
very important.
It is. Yes. It's a meaningful hug. There's a message in that embrace,
an
in
alliance,
that squeeze. Yes,
if you will.
It's they say a picture
unbreakable.
Says 1,000 words. A hug can say 1,000 words as well.
Amen.
We've got an update, Crane, on the situation between Vladimir Zelensky and President Trump. There's been a lot of action in just the last 24 hours in that regard. So I know that's a big issue for you. I want to, so we'll definitely dig into that as we go through the show here today. It's one of the great things about having Crane for the entire 2 o'clock hour on Tuesdays. We have the time to get into a lot of different stories, but I want to start with this speech, the State of the Union address. That's not technically a State of the Union because it's the first speech of a new administration and they don't call it a State of the Union. And so, but that's what this is essentially. Let's start with the idea of these Democratic demonstrations. There's been a lot of reports that there are certain Democrats in Congress, maybe in the United States Senate, that are planning some type of disruptive demonstrations during the speech tonight. I don't really know exactly what that could be. I mean, we've definitely seen shenanigans on both sides of the aisle in recent State of the Union addresses, with Nancy Pelosi, being a clown behind Donald Trump in his first administration, making faces and being overreactive. And of course, the ultimate, most ridiculous stunt ever pulled when she tore up the speech. And then, we've had on the Republican side, you've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene, with holding signs and, dressed very calling attention to herself with, messaging and things like that. So it's unfortunately not a new thing to be talking about the possibility of this. What do you think we're going to see some kind of organized demonstration by congressional Democrats tonight?
I could absolutely see that. A lot of times when you're dealing with Democrats, you're dealing with emotion and not logic or reason. So they're not going to really substantively come at you. They're going to come out with emotional displays. And this is one of them. I like question time over in England. I think it's great. But this is a format where the president gets to lay out his agenda. It's the State of the Union, which is not a State of the Union because he's obviously been in for whatever.
Yeah, but that's
months.
what this is. It's
right.
It
is a state. It is. And what I want to do is, if you're going to have this speech, you can sit on your hands. I get that. I criticize the yelling out all across the board. I don't like that. I think Nancy Pelosi her behavior is disgusting.
Disgusting.
Yeah, because when she tore up that State of the Union, she was sending a message to the world. And that to me is that we are not united and we don't have a system where we can let people know what we're thinking. Meaning, why would you tear up a State of the Union? Why? I mean, that was so, it was a slap in every American's face. You can disagree with it, but to tear it up, to say that I don't even respect the position of president of the United States because somehow Trump is illegitimate. And that was their argument for the first couple of years. And it's disgusting and it's wrong. And it was wrong when they did it to George W. Bush when he won the election. And it's wrong when we do it. If we do it, making the statement of calling somebody
to your
illegitimate.
Point, yeah, exactly. And to your point, flip test it. Can you imagine if John Boehner would have torn up? John Boehner was Speaker of the House when Obama was in office,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
He would have torn up on national television in such a display like Nancy Pelosi did, Barack Obama's State of the Union. He would have been called every name. They would have been. I bet you the pressure from the media and from Democrats and the American public
now.
I bet you, yeah, and I bet he would have. I bet if John Boehner would have done what Nancy Pelosi did, that the reaction would have been so intense that John Boehner would have ended up having to resign because the media would not have let that go. You're tearing up the president's State of the Union address. There was very little criticism from the left or from the mainstream media from Nancy Pelosi. There was obviously from Republicans, but it did not get nearly the type of criticism as it deserved. It's no speaker should do that after the State of the Union address.
Well, we got to respect our system of government. And I know this sounds like, oh, Crane, the system of government and showing respect. Yes, I believe in that, because when I see that respect turn into a bunch of kids emotionally reacting to something and going so far as to have confrontations, which I do see in other countries where people are throwing fists and breaking down
their shoes.
I like the fact that we believe in our words. The politics is a place where we can not go to violence because we can express our opinions and differences within the chambers of government and to discuss those with the rules-based system of the Constitution, however much the left tries to redefine it.
So some of the recent, I guess, examples of what could be considered, a demonstration or backlash to a State of the Union address was during the Obama. I can't remember what senator it was. Called Barack Obama a liar, screamed the word, you lie, at the president. There was the Nancy Pelosi stuff that we just mentioned, the Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff. Both sides have booed. Republicans have booed Democratic presidents, and Democrats have booed Republican presidents. So that's the kind of stuff we've seen lately. Do you think tonight could be just that type of stuff? Is that what we're talking about? Or do you think that tonight could be a bigger demonstration, maybe more organized and, different than what we've seen? What do you expect?
I think it could go either way, frankly. And I look at what Democrats did in Wisconsin State House, and walking out or preventing people from going to work or crowding it in a violent, and basically taking it over. That story was forgotten. We have a mainstream media that is going to absolutely be against what the president is saying. And it is an emotional reaction. It's Trump derangement syndrome so often. Now, don't get me wrong. There are principled arguments against the president. But I really don't trust the Democratic Party, who lied to us for 4 years.
And they get a rebuttal.
And they get a rebuttal.
It's
and go and make your statements.
Nobody's saying that you have to shut up and take it on either side. But there is a way to do it. There's a way to respond, to comport and yourself. Backlash.
Yes. And it also shows respect for the institution. That look, at the end of the day, we're elected. We're elected by the people of the United States, and we're going to show respect for the institutions that we have. And as I know that sounds dated, but some things don't have an expiration date. That is one of them. It is the idea that we use the institutions to express our differences, and thereby we maintain our constitutional republic. That's a beautiful thing. What we have is a beautiful thing. And I get very disturbed when people abandon it and say, well, it's almost like, well, anything's possible now. They did this, they did that.
Right.
Democrats on the whole oftentimes are pulling this crap.
I have a feeling that if they do something, it's going to be unprecedented. It's going to be something, because what's so interesting about this is that everybody is talking about it. If you go to any news outlet today, websites, whatever it may be, you will see multiple headlines about this person reacts to possible Democratic demonstration. This person gives their opinion about but there's no details of what that is. Nobody is saying, they're just saying demonstration. That's it. They're just saying the word demonstration. Nobody is saying what it could be or what it is. But I just don't think that you have so many people in Washington, D.C. talking about this and giving their thoughts on it ahead of time if they're not expecting something, newsworthy, a fairly big. So I don't think it's going to be just like, oh, Democrats, booed Donald Trump for 3 straight minutes or something like that to show their disapproval. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be, I feel like there's a potential for it to be, a little bit of a circus. I want to read.
Could be. And real quick on that, may I interject? But let's think about the movements of demonstrations over the years. BLM, Black Lives Matter, not based on a lie, horrible. Then you go to the anti-Semites, the Hamas supporters on college campuses, and then you also have the Green Movement, generally speaking. And all of them lack credibility. That's the main thing. They have no substance when it comes to things. They disproportionately represent things and, quite frankly, lie to make their case and bully and intimidate. They're not interested in convincing you or persuading you. One of the reasons I like the fact that we have a speech and then a rebuttal from the Democrats is because people are being persuaded and they're being told this is why we're right and this is why they're wrong. And that's really important. And again, if we want to develop some kind of question time for the president, I would love that. That would be great. But this is not that.
I agree completely. And quite frankly, I will give, if the sitting on your hands, even the booing at times, I think that is appropriate. But if we see some kind of, I don't know, I keep my prediction is if they do anything, it's going to be some kind of staged walkout, some kind of chanting and a group walk. I don't know. That's what my brain just kind of keeps going back to. Real quick, as I mentioned, I could have picked, from dozens of various articles and various people reacting to this. I just quickly wanted to give you an example of what people are saying from both sides. Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, sent a message to Democrats earlier today who may disrupt the speech. The White House press secretary reacted to these reportedly planned protests and disruptions to the president's speech, dismissing the claim, stating Democrats should be thinking about, quote, standing up in applause for what Trump will highlight to the American people. She went on to say, quote, I think, frankly, the Democrats should think about if they should stand up in applause for some of the things President Trump will be talking about. He's bringing common sense back to this country. Look at Democrats yesterday. 45 Senate Democrats voted against keeping men out of women's sports. How can you be against that when 80% of the country is for it? And on the other side of the aisle, and this doesn't necessarily surprise me out of somebody like Representative James Clyburn out of South Carolina, well-known Democrat, and he said today in an interview that on CNN that he hopes that his colleagues in Congress don't have some kind of massive disruption, because he says that only plays into the president's hands. And I think Claiborne is exactly right. He said, quote, I think it'll play into the president's hands. I would hope we would not have disruptions. Have demonstrations. You can demonstrate, I'm a product of the 60s. I believe sit-ins were very effective. I have advocated us sitting in tonight. Go, everybody show up, get in your seats. And when he's introduced, sit in. But a demonstration would play directly into his hands. I think Clyburn's is right about that. If they go overboard, the Democrats are already on the wrong side of a lot of issues when it comes to the American people. And I think it would backfire on them if they do some kind of, really significant thing tonight.
I think so, because you've got the momentum and you've got these 80-20 issues. And I think President Trump is very likable in the way that he is said over time. There's been at least 4 years of a lot of people in America, not necessarily conservatives, but just the American people generally, getting screwed over and intimidated and bullied.
Yeah. And he's he's overwhelmingly on the majority of American side when it comes to all the big issues right now, the border, the men and women's sports, on that same issue, doctors performing, sex change operations on children, just law and order in general, not, tied into the border, but also just in broad scopes. I think they just continue to dig their own hole if they tried to do something like that tonight. But we'll be watching. And we'll be here. We will be here to cover it and react to it. Again, we will be carrying that speech live tonight right here on News Talk STL. So if you want to hear the speech, just tune in and we have got you covered. All right. We are talking to Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. I want to shift gears and talk about the latest development between the United States and Ukraine, more specifically, the latest developments between the relationship of Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky, because a lot has happened in the last 24 hours. We will get you up to speed on those things and talk about it with Crane Durham next here on Colombo Company.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Farmers Co-op, Old Town Country Store, great place to visit for so many different reasons. So many products and services that can help you around your home, out in the yard, managing property. If you care for animals, they just do it all there at the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peter's. And, I talk to people all the time. The store's been there for like, it's like close to 100 years for real, which is just absolutely incredible. But I talk to people all the time that are unaware of it, or maybe haven't been to the store in a long time. It's especially this time of year. We're getting out of the winter, transitioning into spring. People are going to be doing a lot of yard work and getting back outside. And the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store can help you in so many different ways. For example, they have a full line of lawn and garden products. As I mentioned, a full line of products for animal care. That includes anything from farm livestock to the family dog or cat, things to help you if you own, a large piece of property. They products and services that can help you in those areas as well. Smaller things like they'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Check out all the things they can do for you by visiting them in person. They are on 2nd Street in Old Town St. Peter's, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid Rivers Mall Drive. And you can also learn more by going to their website, oldtowncountrystore.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Tuesday on the Allman Report, there's more evidence that would-be assassin number 1 did not act alone. The story on the Allman Report, News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Continuing our conversation with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. And Crane, another day and more developments happening between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky and the peace negotiations with the war in Ukraine. Zelensky today put out a very lengthy statement on social media, really changing his tune, saying he's ready for peace negotiations and calling the meeting last week at the White House regrettable. So Donald Trump paused all aid to Ukraine last night, Monday night at midnight. The White House emphasized that this was a pause as negotiations were continuing, that it wasn't, a cutoff. However, it's, interesting timing that, of course, on the heels of the contentious meeting last week. And then today, Vladimir Zelensky posts this statement on social media. I'm going to read part of it here. It's a pretty long statement. I'll read part of it. Maybe I'll read more, but it's long, but it's important. So I don't want to leave too much of it out, Crane. So maybe we'll stop halfway through and talk about it and then finish it. So Zelensky's statement read, quote, "My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership." Already interesting. Under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We are ready to work fast to end the war. And the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same. Then we want to move very fast through all next stages and to work with the United States to agree on a strong final deal. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. And we remember the moment when things changed when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins. We are grateful for this. So there's the thank you that was, I thought, a little overdone at the White House by Trump and JD Vance, demanding a thank you from Zelensky. And also, and again, there's more to go here, Crane, but I mean, it's a whole lot of like, I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to follow Trump. I'm ready to do what it takes, just very different than what happened at the White House last week. What are your thoughts? Yeah. Why is Zelensky doing this? Is it and is it the right thing?
Well, I think Zelensky is realizing that Donald Trump is not going to change. And that's a lot of times people say, well, I wish Trump would do this. I wish Trump would do that. I still think it was terrible that the president advanced talking points for Vladimir Putin. I think it was terrible that it was in front of everybody. I think President Trump wants the stop of the killing. Yet, if you don't recognize history of the failed things, you got a problem. Failed agreements. Now, behind closed doors is where that meeting should have taken place. Because as you sit back and you're talking to, he was having a debate with him. And I understand Zelensky's passion because he's sitting there and he's watching his fellow countrymen and women die in the most horrible ways. And it's a tremendous injustice. So is this a better thing? Yeah, I think this will move the ball forward. But it's also important to recognize that we don't do ourselves any favor by denying the reality that Vladimir Putin is a former KGB operative who all he's ever done is lie and never followed through doing the right thing of agreements.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. He's not
a good guy. But even still, it sets the precedent for people to say, okay, if you don't call out the injustice and be able to say, well, he's a middleman in that way, he wants to make a deal. I get it. I think President Trump wants to do the right thing by stopping the death. But you've got to recognize and not bully the country that was attacked and is merely trying to survive.
So one of the big talking points of this, and you just touched on it, was the fact that it happened publicly. And there are there are people that completely agree with you that say this should have never happened. This should have happened behind the scenes. It shouldn't have happened on the world stage. And there are other people that say, it should be transparent and we should see these things. And as I mentioned to you last week, and I had a conversation yesterday with Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire about this. Typically, I land on the side of transparency as well. And that's my gut instinct. Even in this situation, there's a very large part of me that is glad and thinks it's appropriate that it happened publicly. However, the reason at the end of the day that I ultimately find myself siding with you is that in this instance, I think what happened gave Russia more power than it would have had had it not happened in public. Russia sees that there's a fractured relationship and there's a problem between Trump and Zelensky, and that could, and I would have said that in the other way. If something would have happened that would have given, Ukraine, it had impact on what could happen with them, I would say, that's not good because it needs to be as even as a playing field as possible. Yes,
let me ask you about that.
Yeah,
because they're not the same thing. Ukraine was invaded. Russia was the belligerent and continues to be the belligerent.
Oh, I don't mean the same thing by giving them an advantage. I'm saying anything anything that could influence, the negotiations in any way, is not a good thing. It's not something that is a positive way forward. Is what I mean. Not an apples to apples comparison of saying like if you do something to put Ukraine in the driver's seat, because Ukraine's not in the driver's seat. There's no way to put them in the driver's seat.
Yes.
So
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
So that's what I mean. I want to read a little bit more of this statement from Vladimir Zelensky. Quote, "Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step toward greater security and solid security guarantees, and I truly hope it will work effectively." So this, like I said, Zelensky just fully falling in line, for lack of a better term, with Donald Trump today in this statement after what happened last week. I do want to ask you this. I mentioned we were talking. I had a conversation with Virginia Cruda about this yesterday,
Yes.
and Virginia and I referenced our recent conversations as well. So I told her I got to get you guys on the in the same conversation one day, because I think you both have really great points on this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers. So
and
go
she
ahead,
and she her question to anyone that is solidly on Ukraine's side in this, and so I'm going to ask you her question: what is a satisfactory end to this? Because you have to give Putin something, don't you? Because he's not going to quit unless unless he can claim victory in some way to go back to his people to continue to look strong. So it's nearly impossible to move forward without. Yeah. What is that? What are you willing to sacrifice or negotiate, if anything, to make this happen?
Well, I think we go to the issue of security guarantees. That's the biggest one. The not recognizing the territories, but he may be able to stay in those territories, and because he's taken them over, but not formally recognizing his conquests and thereby not legitimizing it. I think I think those two things are really big. And also the other side to that is, you spoke of the javelins, which I thought was a great statement by President Trump saying, "Hey, I've been with you and I understand where Trump is coming from," because somehow the Democrats forgot they weren't willing to give them aid. And they have also forgotten that when Biden did give aid, he did not give it in time for them to use it to advance their agenda or repel at the most Russia's gains. So he using this expression, but he really screwed
Up.
them over.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did.
Biden handled this terribly. Biden handled this terribly.
But and he's not even there. I don't
and
know
that's part of the problem.
there.
That's part of the problem. Big part of why it is such a mess. But
yes,
as much as you can't give in to a war criminal like Vladimir Putin, we also cannot continue on in this the way it is now. The United States cannot keep sending munitions.
No, there's not a bottomless pit of
Right.
money. I get that, but we are degrading an adversary, and they are an adversary, and we're doing it not with our boots on the ground, but with their boots on the ground. And listen, over time, saw in Afghanistan, they withdrew. Okay, it took a while, support for the Mujahideen, but they withdrew. When you have something like this, the approach coming into this, I think, was deeply flawed. I would go in and say, you know what? We're going to supply you with anything you possibly need right now. Then start from a position of strength. Also, here's another sideline. This is why it gets convoluted, but it's necessary to recognize. One of the goals was to get Europe to step up. Trump has accomplished that goal. Okay. However he did it, which I don't agree with, they are stepping in and stepping up. Now, will they follow through? That's always the question.
Yeah.
Will anybody really actually do it if their backs are not up against the wall, or Putin knocking on the doorstep, if you will?
Yeah.
So I
but
think
to your point, they've already taken some
this
action, which is the first in 2 years. So
yeah, I mean, and it's there. I just think that we don't have to advance the lies of Vladimir Putin and undermine the morale of the Ukrainian people, who literally are seeing their children kidnapped and their women raped and horrible events of torture. And this is, I mean, I think it's very important to tell the truth about your enemy and to recognize it. Again, Zelensky that wasn't the time or place for it for either. It never should have happened because it really messed things up. But those are the realities.
Last question on this topic, Crane, talking to Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com. Do you think after Zelensky's statement today, he says he's ready to sign the minerals agreement immediately? He's ready to move forward with that immediately. He's ready to go along with Donald Trump's plan and Donald Trump's path towards peace. Do you think that how impactful is this statement and this new position from Ukraine as far as getting to peace as quickly as possible?
Getting to peace as quickly as possible without allowing the morality issue to be thrown out the door. And that's all, recognizing that Russia is the belligerent. And I think this will definitely help. I think Trump is going to gloat.
Do you think this is an ultimate positive or
I think, yeah, at the end of the day, it is a positive, because I think what happened was a number of things happened in that meeting. One was a language breakdown, and it was, I don't know how they could plan this to go in front of everybody and just basically, it was a cluster mess, and it should have been. And Zelensky, I still think, has some issues with the language.
Yeah, he's not English is definitely not, obviously not his
and
first
he's
language.
debating there. Yeah. He's debating there, and so the whole host of things there. Does this get him closer? Yes, and I think what has happened is Zelensky has talked to the likes of Graham and Rubio. And if you go back and check out Rubio's statements and Graham's, for that matter, it's supporting Ukraine, recognizing, hey, this is the president we have. This is his style. This is what he's going to do. And in that, he's getting assurances. Zelensky's getting assurances of security guarantees. That's the most important thing, that he can count on those, because without those, Putin just takes a pause and he eventually takes Ukraine.
It's Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. We have got one more segment with Crane here in this 2:00 hour. Then we are going to talk to Todd Showalter and Aaron Dorr in the 3:00 hour. A group of Republicans sent a letter today, a warning to party leaders about the government shutdown debate, government funding debate, which is just universal. It never ends. And here we go again. I'll tell you about this letter, but basically the bottom line is these Republicans are saying, look, if there's no Doge, there's no deal. Democrats are trying to take away the funding and take away the Department of Government Efficiency. And this group of Republicans digging their heels in on that issue and a couple of others. We'll explain, and we will have a conversation and reaction from Crane Durham next here on Colombo and Company.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the News Talk STL app.
Love the News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
We are just about to move into spring and we're getting some more sunshine. And if you're like me, maybe the sunshine shining into your house reveals that there's some things about it that maybe need to be spruced up, maybe need to be improved. Maybe it's your flooring. If it is your flooring, I know where you need to go. That's Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. I've used them in the past and I had a great experience, and you will too. If it's variety you're looking for, well, Michael's has it. They've got laminate, ceramic tile, carpet, hardwood, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plenty of options for you to choose from. And you know with Michael's, your installation is going to be done right the first time because it's done by the experts at Michael's. With Michael's, you get the best combination ever. You get great quality and a great price. You can shop in store at one of their 3 locations on Main Street in St. Peters, on Town Square in Darting Prairie, or on Olive in Creve Coeur. Or you can shop at home. Just go online to igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, beverage enthusiasts, it's time to stock up and save at Save On Liquor and Wine, Twin Oaks. Premium whiskeys, fine wines, tasty tequilas, smooth vodkas, you name it, we got it on discount. Whether you're celebrating, relaxing, or impressing, Save On is your one-stop shop for all things liquid refreshment. 1142 Merrimack Station Road or online at savonliquor.com. Save On Liquor and Wine, Twin Oaks, where great moments begin with a perfect pour.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Tim Jones here. Being a recovering lawyer, don't call me for your legal needs, but you should call Todd Sivia and the fine folks at Sivia Law. At Sivia Law, they'll help you through all of life's transitions, providing you with legal services in the areas of estate planning, elder law, special needs, real estate, personal injury, and more. Locations across Western Illinois and Eastern Missouri, including right here in Creve Coeur and Wentzville. Call Sivia Law today for any and all of your legal needs. 833-995-WILL. SiviaLaw.com. SiviaLaw.com.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Emily and Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page on the line with us. Crane, here we go again, talking about government funding, and everybody's threatening government shutdowns and all of these things. And the latest chapter is a group of Republicans today sent a warning about the government shutdown debate to party leaders, saying no Doge, no deal. A group of conservative lawmakers in the House and Senate sent a letter today warning Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune against agreeing to restrict the Department of Government Efficiency in a spending bill as the government shutdown deadline of March 14th inches even closer. This group did, however, commit to backing a clean stopgap bill as long as it goes for the rest of the year, the fiscal year, to avoid a government shutdown, which is the type of bill that they have this group of Republicans has opposed in the past. The group of signers included several fiscal hawks in the House. I'm sure many people could. I have a list here, but I'm sure you could name, many of them because it's the familiar cast of characters here. But like I said, many of them have opposed the stopgap measure in the past, but they've committed to backing one this time around. Senator Rick Scott from Florida and House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris are the ones who sent the bill. It was signed by 19 other Republicans, reading in part, quote, "We are deeply concerned about recent reports of Democrats' demands for a government funding agreement that would perpetuate the unsustainable status quo of wasteful spending. Any attempt to use government funding legislation to dilute the president's constitutional authority to save taxpayer dollars must be rejected outright." They also put in there, like I mentioned, the demand, a clear demand to Johnson and Thune to not let Democrats restrict the Department of Government Efficiency in the spending bill whatsoever. Interesting to note that one of those 19 Republicans that signed this bill is Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt. So Missouri represented as part of that group through Senator Schmidt. What do you think about this approach? Is this the right stance to take by this group of Republicans?
I think they understand, as you understand and I understand, that Doge is very popular, and rightfully so. It was popular in '96. It's always been popular. It's
been popular with Democrats in the past.
Yes,
calling
absolutely.
out
Well,
government.
Democrats brought it up. I mean, it's not the exact same version, but they ran on it.
Yeah, but
in
calling
96.
out wasteful spending and cleaning up wasteful
trimming
spending.
jobs,
Yes.
and going after that. And I think they're right in the sense of understanding where we are as a culture. We are tired of this idea that somehow government jobs are womb to tomb, and the rest of us are doing the very best we can in the free market. So I think there's a lot of stuff there. So yeah, I think the approach, obviously, I think it's a bargaining tool for Johnson and Thune, and a message saying, "Hey, look, we're not radical. We'll go with the clean
Stopgap.
continuing resolution stopgap, but we are going to demand that you don't hamstring Doge." And Doge has made very clear through the president of the United States that they're not going after Social Security or entitlements in that way. They may check databases in the way of understanding, is there fraud and abuse? Yes, but President Trump has made it very clear on entitlements. However, I feel about that, because I know and politically you can't talk about them, but we're going to have to eat them at some point, and it's unfortunate.
Republicans have a long history of making demands and saying enough is enough, and we can't go with the status quo, and we can't keep kicking the can down the road, and making a big scene and saying all the right things, quite frankly, right up until the rubber meets the road, and Republicans are famous for caving last second. Do you see it? So as much as I appreciate all of this, I just have no confidence that any real progress or difference will be made. We'll be signing another 3-month continuing resolution at the end of the day, because that's what we always do. Is there any? Am I being too pessimistic, or are you encouraged at all that there could, some of these things could actually stick for once?
I think they can stick. It all depends on President Trump. If President Trump gets behind this, game over. That's how things are running right now. And I get the idea that they wouldn't have come up with this before consulting the president. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what is at hand. I think Mike Johnson is doing the best job anyone could possibly do.
I
I'm a
agree.
fan of his, and I've seen Thune get things together, and I appreciate that as well. But the idea is there's compromise. There's always compromise on how do we move forward, but without sacrificing our principles, especially now that we have slim majorities, but majorities.
Yeah, I definitely can point out, issues that I've had with Mike Johnson, but by and large, I think he's been a very solid speaker. Even when I can point out things that I disagree with, who's better? Who's the better option out there? I've yet to see. Even if I agree with the criticisms, I've never heard a better plan or alternative, a realistic one at least, put out there. But he is, he has caved just like everybody else. It's not a Mike Johnson thing on this issue in the past. So I don't know.
I would say
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, and I would say there's necessary compromises because you're going to get something that is viewed as politically untenable at the time and a losing side of an argument, and that is the government shutdown. And I know, I get it.
Yeah, and the most frustrating thing is if this happens again, is that, as we talked about earlier, Republicans not only have the majority, they not only have the power to get things done, they also have the backing of the American people. The American people are supportive of Doge more than they are against it. Yeah, they are. You can call out maybe certain actions or specific things but by and large, they're very supportive of Doge. So they've got the majorities, and they've got the White House, and they've got the American people at their back. So
that's an excellent point.
Hopefully they can. Maybe
that's
leads us to
going to be the sell point. That's going to be the sell point.
Crane Durham, NothingButTruth.com and the Nothing But Truth Facebook page. Always great to talk with you, my friend. Thank you for your time.
I love
as always.
you. Take
love
care.
you too, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon. Yeah. Thank you. Great stuff there. Check out Crane every day at NothingButTruth.com and follow him on Facebook. Nothing But Truth on Facebook. All right, we're going to talk to Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show. He joins us next.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. Start your day with warm, fresh baked Fazio's bread delivered daily. Browse our rainbow of quality fruits and vegetables, always fresh, always delicious. Hosting an event? Let us create stunning fruit bouquets and veggie trays, or treat someone special to our chocolate-covered strawberries. We proudly stock hundreds of locally made products, and yes, we even have seasoned firewood. Anthony's Produce opens 7 days a week, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. at 701 Jungerman Road or anthonysproduce.com.
Hey, Tim Jones here with a reminder. Winter is the perfect time to obtain an expert evaluation of all your trees, shrubs, your biggest assets for safety, health, or maybe even removal. Hanson's Tree Service, locally owned and operated, not only can consult with you on the exact services you need, but during the winter months, you might even save more money. Keep their emergency number handy in case you need it. Emergency removal anytime over the winter months. Hanson's Tree Service, 636-379-1830, hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
All.com. I'm John Scott. Winter weather continues to lash the country, with the Midwest bracing for blizzard-like conditions in some areas.
Powerful storms are threatening communities across the country, with weather ranging from fire in the southern high plains to blizzards in the Midwest. Forecasts also predict dust storms in the Southwest and tornadoes in the South. Craig Kogel is a forecaster with the National Weather Service.
If we do get a little bit more snow and it's a heavy wet snow and it gets onto trees and power lines, when you start getting gusts as high as that, when you over 60 miles an hour, we could look at some bigger branches being broken off and potential power outages.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
Also at townhall.com, President Trump's speech on Capitol Hill tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern is not technically a State of the Union address.
It will look and sound like a State of the Union, but the joint address is for newly sworn-in presidents to present their agenda. The trappings will be familiar, though. Donald Trump will address lawmakers in the House chamber. Republicans will likely interrupt the speech with standing ovations, and Democrats will offer a response. This year, from freshman Senator Elissa Slotkin of Michigan.
White House correspondent Greg Cluxton. That measles outbreak is now up to 160, mostly unvaccinated people in rural West Texas, and one school-aged child has died. The virus spreading among Gaines County's Mennonite community. Gaines County has an 82% kindergarten vaccination rate against measles, below the 95% needed to stop outbreaks. That rate may be even lower among homeschooled children. On Wall Street, stocks were staging a brief comeback, but ultimately fell short. The Dow dropping 669 points, the NASDAQ Composite 65 in the red. More at townhall.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
A summit of Arab leaders in Cairo.
The left, for months now,
one by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
Every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree,
we have to assume some responsibility, because I'm a black man,
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
You're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
For Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, steady afternoon rain moves out. Then, as we head into the evening, just watch for an isolated but strong to severe storm. While low risk, if the ingredients come together, could have an isolated severe storm this evening. And then overnight into tomorrow, big changes, colder and windy. It's a first alert weather day due to the strong winds, gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour. That can take down some tree limbs. We're also going to see a much colder day. Temperatures near 40 in the morning, drop to the upper 30s, nearly steady in the afternoon. Wind chills will be in the mid-20s. Some light rain showers may mix with or turn to snow showers, but temperatures too warm for any accumulation. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day, something new. No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
You know, there's so many issues.
It's over. I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you.
You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Fox News commentary.
Tonight, President Trump will deliver his address to the joint session of Congress, the American people and the world. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
President Trump will deliver his address to a joint session of Congress, the American people, and the world. And the Democrats will throw tantrums because that's what you do when your party has no leader, no message, and no clue what real America cares about. Some Democrats have already vowed not to show up, while others will protest by bringing fired federal workers as their guests. I mean, if you're trying to win over the American people, I'm not sure that'll be the ticket to do it. Well, that plus the DNC's dedication to endless wars, men and women's sports, waste, fraud, abuse, and shielding criminal alien rapists and murderers from deportation. But meanwhile, it's been a little over a month, and President Trump has not only secured hundreds of billions in investments in our country, but also secured our borders, something they said couldn't be done. He's brought our country back from the brink and returned our stature on the world stage into one that's not only awake, but in charge. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Far too many nations around this world have been ripping off the United States of America.
Our country is in serious trouble.
The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. You know, remind people all the time, best way to make sure you don't miss anything that happens here on the show is to subscribe to our podcast. Put the show as a podcast right before you go off the air every day. And it's very true. So wherever you get your podcast, make sure you're subscribed. It's also a good reminder that we also stream the show live every day. You can watch us. And there at break, if you happen to be watching, yes, I was vacuuming the studio.
Tony cleaned the entire studio during break.
With a very tiny hand dirt
Not
devil.
even an ad, but he did great.
Hand vac. Like bent over, vacuuming the entire studio. So you never know what you're going to get when you tune in and you watch the show on our Twitter page, our Rumble page, which is probably the best place to go. Rumble is also Facebook and occasionally on YouTube when we're not suspended. But yeah, make sure you check out the show on those live streams every day as well. All right, as I mentioned, joining us now on the line is our friend Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show, which you can hear every Saturday at 5 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Speaking of podcasts that you should be subscribed to and live streams that you should be listening to, the Right Mind Show every Saturday, 5 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Todd, State of the Union Day. It's not technically a State of the Union, but no shortage of things to talk about, is there?
No, it's going to be a lot of fun, my friend. And it's great to hear your voice again. I haven't been around for the last few weeks. I don't know if you knew this, but like I've been in Florida, then Joey went to Florida.
Yeah.
We're not allowed in the state at the same time. And so we've been playing, freeze tag coming back and forth, but I'm looking forward to seeing you this week. And, it's not like I've been crying over it, but I will look forward to seeing you.
Oh, we've missed you very, very much.
Really?
And it was interesting that you and Joey both went to Florida at the same time. I thought maybe you were negotiating.
It was not the same time.
I thought maybe we were negotiating something, something new, but maybe okay, all right. But you're saying that.
Well, you did hear though. I think that Joey and I think we're taking Dan Bongino's spot. I mean, I haven't gotten the official word yet.
That it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That announcement. Yeah, we're gonna wait on that announcement for now.
I've cleared my schedule.
We'll get back.
So we're ready.
We'll get back to it. So Todd, what do you, if anything? So talking in that first hour. There's all kinds of stories out there today about Democrats demonstrating during the speech tonight, but not a whole lot of details on what that means, like what those demonstrations are. We just heard in the commentary, the Fox News commentary there, At the top of the hour, some Democrats are expected to no show, but that's not really a demonstration. Some Democrats are going to be bringing fired federal workers with them as some sort of protest. But I'm kind of expecting maybe, something unprecedented. If they're planning something, I'm sure they want to make it as sensational and attention grabbing as possible. Do you expect to see something silly tonight at the speech?
Yeah, well, like I always say, you can't have a circus without the clowns. Okay, and so I definitely think the clowns are going to show up, in droves. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they've been rehearsing this whole thing. What they're going to actually pull, I don't know, but it's definitely going to be clown worthy. You're looking at look at what they do. I mean, a lot of the stuff. I mean, even the things that just went down about not passing, keeping men out of women's sports. I mean, it's almost like the little kid to just, is so starved for attention. They have to do anything, whether it's stupid or not, just to stay relevant. And I think they're going to pull something tonight, not so much to stay relevant, but just so we know that, yeah, they are still there. Kind of like when you have a fly in the room. Like, you can't get rid of it, but it kind of wants you to know it's still there. And that's kind of what we're going to experience tonight. And I think, Donald Trump I think he's going to be able to have his barbs back and forth. But I think, I think we'll tolerate it to an extent, but I think overall we're going to get a good message once we can chime them out.
So you make a great point about Democratic stupidity, and you've actually written a book about Democratic stupidity, the Biden years, an era of stupidity, which you can buy right now on Amazon and other places that you get books. Make sure you check out Todd's book. But so we're used to that. We're used to Democrat stupidity, but you just pointed out a couple of those issues, and this is another thing we've talked a lot about on the show. This is kind of a new level of stupidity that they've dug their heels in so deeply on issues like you just touched on, like men and women's sports or the border, issues that they are so clearly on the wrong side of the American people. And yet, even though every poll shows them down, 70-30, 80-20 on a national level, they still are digging their heels in on these very unpopular woke agendas that they've been perpetuating for years. Are you surprised that they have not heard the message that's been so clearly sent by the American people?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it just comes down to not having the guts to say that you are wrong. I mean, I think, I don't know if you get in an argument with your wife, okay, and sometimes it's harder just to pout and, stick to your guns, even though you're wrong, than to apologize and get it over with. I think, at this point, I mean, unless you're just a clueless vegetable, I mean, you have to understand that these things are so far-fetched and bizarre that they're wrong. I think, but rather than just say, okay, we'll admit it, we made a mistake, we're wrong. I don't think they have the maturity or the brain power to do that. And I think it's just more in their best interest, just like you said, to keep their heels dug in, and it's easier. It's just, they're living in their alternate reality than it is just to mature up and say, yeah, okay, we really botched this one. Maybe we shouldn't have 300-pound men, in kindergarten softball games with girls.
Right.
I mean, what other species doesn't realize this isn't a good thing?
Mm-mm.
And so I think it's just easier for them to stick to it rather than admit that they're wrong. We all know they're wrong, and I think by admitting they're wrong, they're going to feel that we've won.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just easier to stick to the stupidity. And I think, the more success that we have, and I cannot get over, it's been over a month. I told my neighbor every day is Christmas. I wish him, in the morning, Merry Christmas, Trump's in office. I mean, it is like Christmas. I mean, all the success that we're having, whether people want to complain about it or not. And I think that's just driving them crazy. And rather than doing anything productive on their own to maybe, try to match that, it's just easier to stay in the spotlight by doing things stupid and sticking to what they already know. And I think that's what you have. And I think tonight, you're going to see a lot of that. Hey, remember us? We're still here. We think everybody should flood the border. Don't forget us. And that's what we're going to see. But I don't think they're going to spend enough. They're not going to, fortunately, spend as much time on them as they would had Babbling Joe still been in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So we have that going for
and it's great. I mean, and it's the best thing possible for Republicans, honestly, because they just continue to alienate themselves, the Democrats, as an entire party when they, when they take these stands against common sense and these issues that are so clearly, one-sided in the with the American public. So I think tonight, if they do something absolutely ridiculous to, stop, to try to disrupt or pause the speech or just distract, Trump or whatever, I think it's just going to make them look even worse. I think they just continue to backfire. Everything everything they do only makes them look worse in the eyes of the American public.
And it makes us look better. I mean, it if anything says, yeah, we were right. I mean, now you're looking at the real adults in the room. It's something like that. I mean, it comes to the point. I don't know about you, but I don't even argue with these people anymore because it's like arguing with a tree or having a conversation with a brick or something. So I let people, whenever they're talking to me and telling me how wrong I am about this or that, which is who knows what, I just let them talk. And they make such fools out of themselves after a while. And I think that's what's going to happen. That is what's happening now. Rather than us trying to fight back and say, no, you're wrong, and this is why, just let them talk. Let's let them do their thing. And I think you've heard the expression, give somebody enough rope. I mean, I think this is what's happening.
This is it.
And they're doing it to themselves. And they're literally in front of our eyes, just imploding. And I don't think they know what to do about it, but just to hang on to those scraps that they had. It's like the insanity thing. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, you look at the Democrats, they've done the same thing like 20 million times, expecting some kind of positive result. And it just keeps more far-fetched and stupid. And that's where we are. And I just say we just keep fighting the good fight, hitting those successes like we're doing. And pretty soon those screams are going to become pretty faint.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. We're talking to Todd Showalter, host of the Right Mind Show, which you can hear every Saturday, 5 p.m. here on News Talk STL. And I mentioned the book, The Biden Years, An Era of Stupidity. I think that I wanted to ask you about how you feel about the first several weeks of the Trump administration and the progress that he's made, but to tie it into, your book and to tie it in just to the Biden administration, I think, you get so used to, even in just 4 short years, you get used to how the White House works and how a presidential administration works. And for 4 years, we saw stupidity. We saw a president that dodged the press at every moment. We weren't used to seeing the president of the United States talking to the press. Now suddenly Donald Trump is back in office. Every time you look at the television, he's answering questions. He's in front of the cameras. He's talking to the American people. He's talking to the press. And it feels weird, like, whoa, this is different. But like, this is more like what it should be than what we got used to under the Biden administration. So, with that in mind, what do you think about the job that Donald Trump has done since getting into office?
Yeah, no, I know where you're going. And you're exactly right. I mean, in fact, recently, I've thought to myself, especially with the whole Zelensky thing last week. I mean, I keep trying to picture what if in these different scenarios. Imagine if Joe were in, not that he would be because he never did anything. He never showed up for anything. He was in bed. I mean, but imagine if he had actually showed up for one of these things. What would be his take on that besides just stumbling around? I mean, and you're right. It's such a contrast to see someone in office now who really has our best interest. And it's almost like that dad that says, oh, you're not going to mess with my kid or you're going to really get it. as opposed to Joe. Well, it says, oh, my kid was probably wrong. Here's $100. It's his allowance. Leave us alone. I mean, I feel like there's somebody actually standing up for us now, and I feel like you can just see. Things seem to be just kind of, on exponentially getting better and better and better just based on what he's doing. And you're going to get a lot of pushback, especially now with these tariffs and that whole thing in the Oval Office last Friday, which I think was much better than a lot of people are making it out to be. And I think a lot of it was calculated. But you have to understand that I think that everything that they're putting in place right now, even though there are going to be some initial hardships, have our interest in mind, and I think we're going to reap the benefits of it in the long run, as opposed to just doing knee-jerk types things, whatever is going to get you political points, whether, okay, we're going to agree that men can be women or whatever Joe would do during, I don't know if you remember that State of the Union when he had to call out that, I'm here for, all sexes, regardless of who they are. Well, we all know there are only two. Well, now you got a president in office that's actually talking like a logical, common sense human being, and it's refreshing. And the best part is great things are happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there couldn't be a better contrast, but it's I don't know. I think I really, without getting too overly emotional, I really think this could be the golden age of America again, forever, I guess. And I love to see where it's going.
Yeah, and we have now a sample size of what Donald Trump is capable of, and the progress and the actions that he, and the impact that he can have. And I agree with you. This is a tremendous opportunity, and could be a very historical time period where common sense, comes back, and a lot of the crazy woke, ridiculous paths that we've been brought down, we finally reverse those things. However, I think the only thing that could stop that are Republicans themselves, staying on the same page. And unfortunately, we have seen in the past that many times Republicans can be their own worst enemy with infighting and party division. We haven't seen too much of that yet. Are you optimistic that the party can hold it together and execute on the Trump agenda?
Yeah, I really am. And I think, there is some wishy-washiness, on the Republican side still there. But I think, if we can unify like the Democrats have done on the absurd side to the productive side, where we are going to stick together. And I'm hoping tonight, especially, from a Republican standpoint, that Donald Trump makes it a point that, I know you're upset about some of these things you've been hearing about tariffs and other things, but it's a lot of starting to work out again. If you haven't worked out in a long time, you're going to have those pains. You're going to have those aches. You're going to have those things that aren't going to be easy in the beginning, and you got to fight through it and get through it. Because in the long run, you're going to be strong and healthy again. I think we're going to have a few blips, here and there over the next few months. You may see the stock market, dip, but it's going to come back up. As far as these tariffs, there may be price fluctuations. That may be the case, but we'll work that out. So I think we are going to have some things that people are going to be screaming about, especially the left, that we're just going to have to fight through, knowing that it's only temporary, and in the long run, things are going to be better. So again, it's like working out. You got to look at the long-term plan.
Yeah, great stuff. That is Todd Showalter again. The Right Mind Show is every Saturday afternoon at 5 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. The book is The Biden Years, an Era of Stupidity. Go and check that out. And Todd, can I just say, we had you on a couple months ago talking about the book, and in these conversations, you're a lot nicer and easier and more reasonable to talk to than Joey. Joey's just always like, oh, you don't want to, don't go near him. You don't want to have that. So I just want to say, it's been great talking with you, and I can't wait to talk with you again. And I think Joey's wrong.
You see, whenever I'm together with Joey, I'm usually chasing him around, saying, "Will you please sit down? We have a show to do." And once I give him his apple juice, then we get on a normal keel and things are normal. So just don't believe what he says. He needs another splash of apple juice.
There you go.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, tune in every Saturday at 5 p.m. to hear Todd with Joey, his producer, every week here on News Talk STL. Co-host, producer, yes.
Everything, extraordinary.
Everything,
okay.
Yes. Todd, thanks as always for your time, my friend. We'll be listening this weekend. And we'll talk to you again
Thank
soon.
you, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome
Bye-bye.
stuff there from Todd Showalter, Right Mind Show, every Saturday, 5 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Speaking of great weekend shows, Aaron Dorr from Shall Not Be Infringed, which you can hear Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Aaron's also with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Want to, before we hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show this afternoon, want to direct the conversation a little more local and talk about this legislative session and the Second Amendment issues that are hopefully being addressed. And are they being addressed at the level that we need them to be as Second Amendment supporters? So we're going to have that conversation with Aaron Dorr next here on Colombo and Company.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Yesterday afternoon, we had our buddy Dave Sylvester from the Gutter Pros on the show. If you missed it, make sure you go back and listen to that conversation on the podcast, because, as we make that transition from the winter weather into the spring weather, especially after this type of winter where we had a lot of weather, we had a lot of snow, we had a lot of really cold days and nights that caused freezing. These are the things that can damage your gutters or your siding or the fascia and the soffit that are on your home or on your business. And that's where the Gutter Pros come in. They are absolutely the best. They are your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We've had the Gutter Pros out for a couple of different jobs on our house over the last few years, and I can speak from personal experience that they are fast, they are professional, they are affordable, they are the best. And it's everything from gutters, of course. They're the Gutter Pros. So gutter replacement, new gutter installation, gutter repair, they've got you covered, but also siding repair and installation. And like I said, fascia, soffit, they do it all at the Gutter Pros. And if you think, the ice or the snow or the winter weather caused some damage at your home or business, and you just want that peace of mind of having somebody come out and check it out and let you know if what's going on, if there is or isn't a problem, Gutter Pros offer free estimates. So they can come out, they can take a look, they can tell you what's going on. If there is a problem, they'll give you the options that you could go about to address that issue. And you could get all that information, that peace of mind, for nothing. So just another great service offered by the team at the Gutter Pros. If you want to learn more, you can call them at 314-656-7195 or just go to gutterpros.com.
Craving real barbecue, St. Louis? Your search ends here. 4 incredible locations: Bogart's, Dale Smokehouse, and 2 Pappy's Smokehouse spots, each serving up mouth-watering, slow-smoked perfection. Only the highest quality meats, prepared with love and care by our friendly staff. From ribs to brisket, our full menu has something for everyone. Dine in for lunch or dinner, or let us cater your next event. Bogart's, Dale Smokehouse, and Pappy's Smokehouse. Where smoke meets delight, every bite is a highlight.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Here's an example of the disarray of the Democrat Party. This comes from a group calling itself Third Way, a pseudo-moderate Democrat group that just finished what they call the comeback retreat. The focus, how to get back into the election game. In a 5-page strategy memo, the group mainly decided we need to strike a word from our vocabulary. The word migration. Don't talk about it. Don't even whisper it. Instead, wrap everything in the U.S. flag. Embrace patriotism, community, traditional American images, farms, main streets. This group supposedly now knows how to regain control in 2026. One said, we Democrats have failed to respond adequately, and too many Americans fear diminished opportunities in their own country because of, that word again. You can't say it, can't whisper it, but you know the word. You see what they're doing, don't you? It is the old, now you see it, and now you don't magic trick. It's all smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. Because behind the curtain, there will still be the same leftists we know, although some might now be driving a John Deere tractor.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Question: do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930, 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com, WellingtonSTL.com, Wellington Environmental, your world, cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Hi, this is Missouri Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger. Hey, I wanted to invite you to the annual Missouri State Lincoln Days occurring on March 7th through the 9th. I plan on being there to celebrate President Trump's huge victory, and we swept the state with statewide elected officials. I also hope to be there. You can register at mogop.org. It's mogop.org. Look forward to seeing you on March 7th through the 9th in St. Louis. Let's make Missouri great again.
Learn more and get tickets at mogop.org.
Paid for by the Missouri Republican Party. Jennifer Finch, Treasurer.
There's no pizza like Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the district, Chesterfield Valley. That's because in Napoli, your pizza is in a coal-fired oven. One taste, you're going to want more. Grab a gift card. Good for all Napoli locations. And a few doors down, enjoy the atmosphere of Lit Cigar Lounge. High-end cigars, single-barrel whiskey. Before you leave, pick up gift cards for family and friends at Lit Cigar Lounge.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Today we'll set the stage for you for President Trump's State of the Union address tonight, and we will be carrying it live.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Well, welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Don't forget, we are carrying the speech tonight by the president to the State of the Union. That's not technically a State of the Union. Starts at 8 p.m. and we will carry that speech in its entirety tonight. So if you are wanting to hear the president address Congress and the nation, just tune in right here to News Talk STL. And we have got you covered. All right. Joining us now on the line, as I mentioned, is our buddy Aaron Dorr from the Missouri Firearms Coalition and the host of Shall Not Be Infringed, which you can hear every Sunday night at 9 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Aaron, as always, thank you for your time. And it's, real easy to get distracted and caught up in all the national and international headlines. But there's also important stuff happening here locally in the state of Missouri. The legislative session is underway. I know you and Missouri Firearms Coalition are very active with the legislative session and fighting for Second Amendment rights in the state of Missouri. What's the latest, if there is any update on this new session and that fight to protect Second Amendment rights in the state of Missouri?
Yeah, good afternoon. There's a lot going on actually right now here in Jeff City in the fight for gun rights. Probably the biggest news right now is the Second Amendment Preservation Act has passed committee. That was probably 2 weeks ago. But now just a couple of days ago, Senate President Cindy O'Loughlin has put that bill on the debate calendar. And I believe that means we're going to have floor action on SAPA in the Senate very, very quickly, likely before spring break.
That is fantastic. It is one of those issues. We were just talking in that last segment with Todd Showalter about how Republicans in Washington, D.C., don't really have any excuse for not getting work done because they have all the levers of power. It's that and even more in the state of Missouri. This should not be something that is a controversial issue in the state of Missouri with a Republican supermajority, but unfortunately doesn't always work like that. We know that we've passed SAPA here in the state before, and then it was struck down. what is the difference this time around than last time around, as far as permanence and hoping that this is the last time we have to do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we passed SAFA in 2021, the Eighth Circuit came back and said that they had no problem with the idea of the states telling the feds that we're not going to let you use Missouri cops to enforce federal law. And they also had no problem with the civil penalties that we had in the law. Their only issue was some of the wording in the preamble. And so we made a very big decision to simply cut out the preamble. And what we're doing is basically reestablishing or reasserting the same heart and soul of SAFA that we passed in 2021 without some of the flowery language. And we believe that we will accomplish the goal of defending gun owners from federal overreach while also surviving any future court challenge. It is important to note that, we don't have the same president in the White House that we did last time this happened. And so the odds of Missouri being sued by the Department of Justice this time are basically night and day different than when been done and finished the fight. And we believe we have a real chance at accomplishing that right now in Jeff City.
Fantastic. You cut out there just for a minute there, Aaron, but we got you back. And just for people who aren't completely familiar with the SAPA issue, basically, without getting into the weeds, it's a way for Missouri. It says that Missouri law enforcement and Missouri voters and the state of Missouri itself can protect the Second Amendment, their Second Amendment rights over the federal government. Basically gives us protection if the federal government were to ever come after the rights. It says, Missouri is in charge of that, not the federal government. Is that a fair generalization?
Yeah, what SAPA does is it tells the federal government Missouri cops will only enforce Missouri gun laws. And so any future Democrat president who tries to do what Joe Biden tried to do, which was to force our cops to enforce federal and unconstitutional gun control laws, would find that not going to work. Our cops will only enforce Missouri laws when it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories.
And one of the reasons I wanted to have Aaron on today, I've talked a couple times recently about other states and other, they're doing the opposite of Missouri, not protecting Second Amendment rights, specifically the bill that is happening in Colorado. And the reason I think these are important, Aaron, and I think you probably agree, is that, you never want to get comfortable and say, oh, we're fine here in Missouri, and if something's happening in another state, it's not going to impact us. I think it's very important to see the strategy that is being taken by people that are trying to take our Second Amendment rights, no matter where they are in the country, to be prepared for that fight if it ever does come here. And in Colorado and in some other places, it seems to be the new strategy from Democrats is, instead of an outright ban, and what they've done in Colorado, the Democrats there, they wanted to ban AR-15s and they wanted to ban AK-47s and they wanted to ban other guns and gun accessories, but they knew they probably couldn't get away with, a full-on ban. So they've now passed a bill, or are about to pass a bill, that basically puts in a whole lot of bureaucracy and training and licensing, and after 5 years, you got to update this, and you got to have this training, you got to pass this class, some of which are days long, hours long. They're just basically making it as difficult and tedious as possible for you to exercise your Second Amendment rights. I think it's an insidious strategy by Democrats, but I see this being the way that they are, this is their latest move in trying to attack the Second Amendment. Would you agree with that? And how important it is that we stay vigilant to combat it?
Yeah, I think you nailed that, Tony. Every state that's passed gun control over the last 20 years, if you would ask gun owners in that state 10, 15 years before that, could this ever happen here? Most of them would have said, no, this could never happen here. And you're exactly right. We have to keep our foot on the gas at all times as gun owners in Missouri, because it wasn't that long ago we were a blue state, and it wasn't that long ago that we had Democrat governors who were vetoing gun bills, like when Jay Nixon vetoed constitutional carry. So we must keep our foot on the gas. Just looking at the dozens of gun control bills filed this session in Jeff City should tell people all they have to know about what our political opponents have in store for us if they ever have a chance to make that happen. It's AR-15 bans, it's bans on private sales of ammo, it's gun registration, it's red flag gun seizures, it's the kitchen sink. And you're right, Colorado is a warning to all of us because it wasn't long ago that Colorado was a very pro-gun state. And it wasn't that long ago where that was a place, a Western state, where a lot of folks went for machine gun shoots and all kinds of gun events. Those days are over in Colorado because of the laws that they have been passing there for the last 10 years. And that's why our mantra here at the Missouri Firearms Coalition is just no quarter, no quarter. Whether it's a Republican rhino or whether it's a leftist Democrat, anybody who opposes our gun rights will be exposed. And while we have these majorities, like you said, Tony, now is the time to get some big stuff done. And SAFA is one of those, but we're also moving SB 74 to increase the protections of our preemption law. We're working on legislation to enhance stand your ground law. We're working on repealing some of the transit carry gun-free zones that we have right now in the state. So there's a lot going on right now in Jeff City.
Yeah, and Missouri Firearms Coalition's always at the front line of that. If listeners want to get involved with that fight, how can they learn more about what you guys are working on at Missouri Firearms Coalition and get involved themselves?
Yeah, the website is MissouriFirearmsCoalition.org, and we're on all the socials. We're on X, we're on Facebook. Check us out there as well for more breaking news type stuff.
Absolutely. And of course, also every Sunday night, Aaron Dorr is the host of Shall Not Be Infringed right here on News Talk STL. Aaron, great stuff as always. Look forward to talking to you again very soon. And thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
Yeah, back at you. Great stuff there. And make sure you tune in Sunday nights, 9 p.m. to hear Aaron Shall Not Be Infringed right here on News Talk STL. All right, that is about it for Emily and I today. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast in case you missed anything on today's show. The best way to make sure that you never miss anything that happens here is to be subscribed to the podcast. We put the show as a podcast right after we get off the air every day on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts, subscribe to Colombo Company and you won't miss anything that happens here on the show. Keep it here not only for the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, but the president's speech. We will be carrying that live tonight at 8 p.m. So no need to go anywhere else but here on News Talk STL. Emily and I, Colombo Company, back tomorrow at 2 p.m. In the meantime, keep it here. The O'Reilly Report is next. Then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Till I'm ready, just keep out of my way.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org.